Listen to me very closely. You clicked on this audio because you are tired of failing yourself. You are sick of the broken promises, the half-finished projects, and the pathetic excuses. Willpower isn't some genetic gift, it is a muscle. And right now, yours is dangerously weak. This is the Willpower Forging. For the next 30 days, we are putting your mind through a brutal, necessary workout. I will break down your laziness and forge unbreakable self-control in its place. Do not pause. Do not skip. Your transformation begins right now.
Chapter 1. Burn your excuses to the ground. Welcome to day 1. Welcome to the baseline. We start here because if we don't fix this, nothing else matters. Look at your life right now. Look at the goals you haven't hit. Look at the body you don't have. Look at the bank account that stresses you out. Why aren't you where you want to be? I know exactly what your brain is doing right now. It is serving up a platter of reasons. Your upbringing, your boss, the economy, your genetics, your lack of time. Listen to me. Every single one of those reasons is a lie. It is a lie you tell yourself to feel comfortable. It is a warm blanket you pull over your head to hide from the cold, hard truth of your own inaction. You are playing the victim, and as long as you play the victim, you will remain powerless. You have a choice. You can keep pointing fingers, or you can take the power back. No one is coming to save you. Let that sink in. No one is coming to wake you up. No one is coming to do the work for you. No one is coming to hand you the success you think you deserve. The cavalry is not coming. It is just you. The argument that your environment, your past, or your circumstances are the reasons for your failure is poison. It destroys willpower before it can even form. You think your circumstances dictate your reality. You are wrong. It's not about your circumstances, it's about your discipline. That's the key. Radical, 100% ownership. When you blame the outside world, you hand over your control. You say, I cannot succeed because of X. But the moment you take radical ownership, you instantly rewire your brain for action. You shift from, why is this happening to me, to, what am I going to do about it? Let's look at a real-world example. Let's look at the chronic snooze button hitter. You know this person. Maybe it's you. The alarm goes off at 6 a.m. The hand slaps the button. Just 5 more minutes, you say. I'm just not a morning person. I'm a night owl by biology. You wrap your laziness in the language of genetics to make it sound acceptable. You tell yourself your biology is the problem. Now, let's look at a single parent. A mother who works 2 shifts to keep the lights on and feed her kids. She's exhausted, her bones ache. She hasn't had a full night of sleep in 5 years. Yet her alarm goes off at 4 a.m. Does she hit snooze? No. Her feet at the floor, she laces up her shoes, and she trains in her living room before the sun comes up. Do you think she has some magical morning person gene? Do you think she feels rested? Absolutely not. The difference isn't biology. The difference is an absolute, non-negotiable refusal to accept her own excuses. She doesn't have the luxury of playing the victim. You don't need their permission to be great. And you don't need society's permission to stop being weak. Society wants you to make excuses. Society gives you a pass. Society says, it's okay, you're tired, take a break. Do not listen to that weak noise. You have a choice. Be the person who hits snooze or be the person who hits the floor. It's not about your fatigue. It's about your discipline. No one is coming to save you. So how do we fix this? How do we stop the brain from serving up these comfortable lies? We implement what I call the excuse elimination protocol. This is a mental audit. It is a weaponized awareness of your own thoughts. Your brain is a machine designed to conserve energy. When faced with hard work, it will instantly generate a justification to avoid it.
I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have the right gear. I've already ruined my diet today. I might as well eat this pizza. The excuse elimination protocol requires you to catch that justification the exact second it forms in your mind. You have to become the watcher of your thoughts. When you feel that friction, when you hear that little voice offering you a way out, you must recognize it instantly. Do not let the thought finish. Do not entertain it. Do not debate it. Kill the excuse before it breathes. I repeat, kill the excuse before it breathes. If you let the excuse breathe, if you let it echo in your mind for even 2 seconds, it will multiply. It will gather evidence. It will convince you that quitting is the logical, rational thing to do. You cannot negotiate with weakness. You must execute it. When the alarm rings and the thought, "It's too cold," enters your brain, you do not pull the covers up. You kill the excuse before it breathes. You throw the covers off. You move. Action shatters the excuse. When you sit down to work and the thought, "I'll just check social media for 5 minutes," appears, you kill the excuse before it breathes. You throw the phone in the other room. You stare at the screen. You type. You have a choice in every single micro moment of your day. You either feed the excuse or you starve it. You either validate your weakness or you forge your willpower. That's the key. Constant, relentless vigilance. Write this down, burn it into your brain. It is my fault. If you are out of shape, it is your fault. If you are broke, it is your fault. If your relationships are failing, it is your fault. Embrace the fault. Let it burn away your ego. Because if it is your fault, then it is within your power to fix it. No one is coming to save you. And frankly, you shouldn't want them to. The pride, the strength, the unbreakable willpower you are seeking, it only comes from pulling yourself out of the dirt with your own 2 hands. Stop defending your limitations. If you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. Burn your excuses to the ground, stand in the ashes, and finally take control of your life. You have taken radical ownership. You have killed the excuse. But now you face a new enemy, an enemy disguised as a friend. You mastered your environment. Now let's talk about the lie that keeps you waiting for the right time.
Chapter 2. The myth of motivation is making you weak. You survived day 1. You burned your excuses to the ground. You stopped blaming the world. But now, you are facing a much more seductive enemy, a silent killer of progress. That enemy is motivation. Society worships motivation. You watch a hype video, you listen to a pumped-up song, you feel electricity in your veins. You declare to the world that tomorrow, everything changes. You feel unstoppable. And then tomorrow comes. The alarm rings in the dark. The electricity is gone. You feel nothing but tired. You feel the cold floor. You feel the weight of the work. The hype is dead. So you quit. You roll over. You go back to sleep. You failed because you relied on a myth. Motivation is a lie. It is an unreliable, fleeting emotion. It is a biological spike of cheap dopamine that vanishes the exact second the reality of hard work sets in. If you rely on feeling pumped up to take action, you are guaranteeing your own absolute failure. Feelings are temporary. Feelings change like the wind. Feelings are inherently weak. Discipline, however, is an ironclad system. It never wavers. Discipline does not care if you are tired. Discipline does not care if you are sad. Discipline does not care if it is raining outside. It demands execution regardless of your emotional state. Fuck your feelings, do the work. I want you to repeat that in your head. Burn it into your subconscious. When the resistance hits, when the laziness creeps in, your only response is this: fuck your feelings, do the work. You have a choice. You can be a slave to your temporary emotions, or you can be the master of your actions. Let's look at absolute reality.
Walk into any commercial gym on January 1st. What do you see? It is packed to the walls. People are fighting over treadmills. The energy is chaotic. Everyone is highly motivated. They made a New Year's resolution. They felt a surge of inspiration. They swore this year would be different. Now, walk into that exact same gym in mid-February. It is a ghost town. The machines are empty. The massive crowds are gone. What happened? Did the weights suddenly get heavier? Did the distance on the treadmill get longer? No, the work remained exactly the same. What happened is that their motivation hit its expiration date. The feeling faded, so the action stopped. That is what happens when you build your foundation on an emotion. 90% of resolutioners quit because they never built actual willpower. They only chased a temporary feeling. Forged willpower does not care what month it is. It does not care if it is January 1st or a rainy, miserable Tuesday in November. It executes. It's not about your mood. It's about your discipline. That's the key. You must separate your actions from your emotions entirely. To do this, we establish an unbreakable rule in your life starting right now. The rule is simple, brutal, and highly effective. Action precedes emotion.
You have been lied to your entire life. You think you need to feel good to start. You think you need to be in the right headspace. You wait for the stars to align. You wait for the perfect moment. That is pure garbage. You will never naturally feel like doing the hard, painful thing. Your brain is a survival machine designed to seek comfort and conserve energy. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait until you die. You will spend your entire life waiting on the sidelines. You must force your body to start the task before your brain has the time to negotiate a way out of it. Move first, feel later. That is your new standard. Move first, feel later. When the run is scheduled, you do not sit on the edge of the bed and assess your energy levels. Assessing your energy is a trap. It gives your weakness a voice. You put the shoes on, you open the door, you start running. You train yourself to move physically before you feel mentally ready. Your body leads, your mind follows. The momentum generates the mood. You do not need to feel like a champion to train like one. You just need to start moving. Move first, feel later. Let me break down exactly what you must stop doing immediately. Stop assessing your mood. Stop asking yourself, do I feel like working out today? Stop asking, do I feel like making those cold calls? Stop asking, do I feel like studying? The answer will always be no. The question itself is poison. When you ask yourself how you feel about hard work, you open the door to negotiation. And in the war of willpower, the moment you begin to negotiate, you have already lost. Silence the internal dialogue entirely. Shut the mind off. You don't need their permission to be relentless, and you don't need your own brain's permission to execute. It's not about your hesitation, it's about your discipline. You have a choice. You can let the lack of motivation be your excuse, or you can let the lack of motivation be your trigger for discipline. When you feel zero motivation, that is your signal to attack. That is when the real growth happens. Doing the work when you are hyped up is easy. Anyone can do that. Doing the work when you are exhausted, depleted, and utterly unmotivated, that is how you forge iron. Fuck your feelings, do the work. You are no longer someone who waits for inspiration. You are a cold, calculating machine of execution. You operate on systems, not sentiments. You operate on routine, not romance. You take the action first, and you let the feelings catch up later. That's the key. The pride, the energy, the intense feeling of accomplishment, that only comes after the effort, never before. You have to pay the toll first. Move first, feel later. You have ripped the illusion of motivation out of your life. You now understand that action must lead. But knowing you must take action is only half the battle. The real war happens in a microscopic window of time. A window where your brain desperately tries to hit the brakes. You stopped relying on a feeling.
Now, let's talk about the exact moment the battle is won or lost.
Chapter 3. Master the 5-second micro-war. You survived the first 2 lessons. You stopped waiting for motivation. You understand that action must precede emotion. But knowing the rules of the game is useless if you keep losing on the actual battlefield. And your battlefield is much smaller than you think. You believe willpower is about massive, sweeping life decisions. You think it's about deciding to move across the country, quitting your job, or declaring a complete life overhaul. You think willpower is this heavy boulder you have to lift once a year to prove your strength. You are completely wrong. Willpower is not found in grand gestures. Willpower is lost or won in a microscopic window of time. It happens in 5 seconds. There's a 5-second gap between knowing what you must do and deciding not to do it. That is the entire war. We call this the micro-war. Every single day, you are faced with dozens of these tiny, invisible battles. You have to win these tiny, invisible battles every single day to build momentum. Win the micro-war. If you lose the micro-war, you lose the hour. If you lose the hour, you lose the day. Lose enough days and you lose your entire life to mediocrity. It is that simple. You have a choice. You can surrender to the 5 seconds or you can conquer them. Win the micro-war. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at your daily life. You walk into the office break room. There's an open box of junk food sitting on the table. You are supposedly committed to your health. You know exactly what you should do. You know you shouldn't eat it. Your goal is crystal clear. For the first 1 or 2 seconds, your logical brain is firmly in control. It registers the threat and says, walk away. But then the clock starts ticking. Second 3, your impulsive brain wakes up. Second 4, the rationalization begins. I had a hard morning. It's just 1 donut. I will run an extra mile tonight. Second 5, your hand is in the box you are chewing. You failed. Or consider another scenario. You were in a meeting. A colleague said something utterly stupid and disrespectful. You desperately want to complain. You want to snap back. You feel the heat rising in your chest. That is the raw impulse. For 3 seconds, you hold it in. By second 5, you open your mouth, you vent your anger, and you damage your professional reputation. You lost the micro-war. Let's break down the exact neurology of that 5-second window. Your brain is essentially split in 2 competing factions. You have the prefrontal cortex. That is your highly evolved, logical brain. It is responsible for discipline, long-term planning, and ultimate success. Then you have the primitive brain, the impulsive brain. It does not care about your future. It only cares about immediate gratification. It wants sugar. It wants comfort. It wants to vent anger. It wants to sleep. When these 2 systems collide, the primitive brain is louder. It is vicious. It is faster. But it has a fatal flaw. It takes it about 5 seconds to fully hijack your logical thought process. It takes 5 seconds for the excuses to completely drown out the discipline. That's the key. You have 5 seconds to physically move before the mental trap snaps shut. It's not about your cravings. It's about your discipline. You must learn to outrun your own weakness. You cannot fight the impulsive brain with logic. You can only fight it with speed. So, what is the transformation? What must you change right now? You will drill the snap action response. This is a mental reflex you must cultivate. It requires you to completely shut down the inner monologue of negotiation that leads to failure. You must stop talking to yourself. Negotiation is the language of the weak. When you debate whether or not to do the hard thing always loses. The primitive brain will always out-argue you because it knows exactly what buttons to push. It knows your deepest insecurities.
So you must cut the microphone. Don't think, execute. Say it with me. Burn it into your daily operating system. Don't think, execute. When the alarm rings at 4:30 a.m., do not lie there and stare at the ceiling. Do not assess how tired your eyes feel. Do not think about how warm the bed is. The moment the sound hits your ears, your feet hit the floor before your brain can form a thought. Don't think, execute. When it is time to make the sales call that terrifies you, you do not stare at the phone. You do not rehearse the script 15 times in your head to delay the pain. You pick up the receiver, you dial the numbers immediately. Don't think, execute. When you finish your dinner and the urge to sit on the couch and watch television hits you, you do not sit down. You immediately grab your shoes and walk out the front door for your evening run. Don't think, execute. You do not need to feel courageous. You don't need their permission to succeed, and you certainly don't need your own brain's permission to take action. You just need to move faster than your excuses. It's not about your fear, it's about your discipline. You have a choice. Every single time you face a moment of friction today, you have a choice. You can let the 5 seconds expire and remain exactly who you are, or you can use the snap action response and force yourself into the fire of progress. Win the micro war. This is how you build an unstoppable force. You do not do it by making one massive decision. You do it by stacking hundreds of tiny, ruthless victories on top of each other. You win the morning alarm. You win the break room battle. You win the urge to check your phone. You win the urge to complain. You shut down the hesitation. You move. You execute. You leave your weakness in the dust. Every time you win a micro war, you forge another link in the chain of your willpower. Don't think, execute. You have learned to master the microscopic moments. You have learned to strike before the mind can rebel. You are building real momentum. But as you push harder and faster, you are going to encounter something you have spent your entire adult life avoiding. You are going to encounter serious discomfort. You conquered the 5 seconds. Now let's talk about the fire you must willingly walk into.
Chapter 4. Pain is the only antidote to mediocrity. You won the 5 seconds. You learned to move faster than your excuses. You learned to execute before the mind can rebel. But speed is not enough if you are running in the wrong direction. And right now, your internal compass is broken. It is pointing you toward the path of least resistance. It is pointing you toward comfort. You have been conditioned by modern society to avoid discomfort at all costs. Look around you. You live in a world absolutely obsessed with making things easier, softer, and faster. You have climate control in your house and your car. You have hot food delivered directly to your door with the push of a button. You sleep on memory foam. You are entirely insulated from the harsh, demanding realities of the physical world. And it is making you incredibly, dangerously weak. Comfort is the silent, smiling killer of your potential. It creeps up on you. It whispers that you have done enough. It tells you to take a break. It convinces you that a hard life is a bad life. You think struggle is a sign that something is wrong. You are completely backward. A life without struggle is a life without growth. By systematically avoiding pain, you are avoiding the very forge that builds unbreakable willpower. Seek the pain. You must actively seek out daily controlled discomfort. You must intentionally inject friction into your routine. Why? Because you must callous your mind against future adversity and stress. Seek the pain. When you lift weights in the gym, your muscle fibers tear. They break down under the heavy load. It hurts. It is uncomfortable. But in the recovery phase, they grow back vastly stronger.
Your willpower works exactly the same way. It requires intense resistance. It requires friction. If your day has absolutely zero friction, you have wasted a day of your life. You have missed a crucial opportunity to forge the iron. You have a choice. You can let the modern world make you soft, or you can force yourself to become hard. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at the morning shower. 99% of the population steps into a hot, steaming shower every single morning. It feels amazing. It is relaxing. It requires zero willpower to stand in warm water. But you are no longer 99%. Starting tomorrow morning, you will step into the shower and you will turn the heavy metal handle all the way to the coldest possible setting. You are going to take an ice-cold shower. Why? You are not doing this for the physical health benefits. You are not doing this for muscle recovery or improved circulation. You are doing it strictly to practice doing something you absolutely hate. When that freezing water hits your chest, your brain will scream. Your lungs will gasp for air. Your primitive brain will beg you to reach out and turn on the hot water. It will panic. That panic, that physical and mental shock, that is the exact same panic you feel when a massive business deal suddenly collapses. It is the exact same shock you feel during a high-stress negotiation, a financial emergency, or a sudden life crisis.
By forcing yourself to stand in that freezing water, to control your breathing, and to remain perfectly calm in the middle of a miserable environment, you are training your nervous system to obey your commands under extreme duress. You are callousing your mind against the shock of life. It's not about the temperature, it's about your discipline. When you conquer the freezing water, the rest of the day bends to your will. When a client yells at you, or the traffic is backed up for miles, you will not react. You will remain utterly unbothered, because you have already fought a brutal war before 7 a.m., and you won. You don't need their permission to be extreme. Society will tell you this practice is crazy. Your family and friends will ask why you are doing this to yourself. Let them ask. You don't need their permission. You are building mental armor they simply cannot comprehend. Comfort is the enemy of growth. This chapter forces you to execute a ruthless audit of your daily life. You must identify your comfort crutches. What are the small, pathetic luxuries you rely on to feel okay throughout the day? Is it the heavy sugar in your coffee? Is it the heated seat in your car? Is it taking the elevator instead of walking up 3 flights of stairs? Is it complaining about the rain? These are crutches. They are making your willpower fragile. You must systematically eliminate them one by one. Here is your behavioral instruction. Here is the transformation. Starting today, you will walk up the stairs. You will drink the coffee black. You will park your car at the absolute furthest end of the parking lot in the pouring rain, and you will walk. You will learn to smile when the flight gets delayed. You will learn to smile when the workload doubles. You will learn to smile when things get difficult, because difficulty means you are growing. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose convenience over effort, you surrender a tiny piece of your mental toughness. Your mind is a muscle. If you put it in a cast of absolute comfort, it will atrophy. It will shrink. When a real crisis hits, and it will hit, it is only a matter of time, you will collapse. You will break into pieces because you have no calluses to protect you. You have a choice. Every single morning, you have a choice to embrace the suck or hide from it like a coward. Do the massive pile of dishes when you don't want to. Have the deeply uncomfortable conversation with your spouse that you have been avoiding for 6 months. Pay the overdue bill. Make the hard apology. Lift the heavy weight. Stand in the freezing water. Seek the pain. It's not about your preference, it's about your discipline. When you feel a sense of total ease washing over your life, that is not a sign of success. That is a massive red alert. It means you are stagnating. It means you have stopped climbing the mountain. You must immediately find a new struggle, a new challenge, a new source of necessary pain.
That's the key. You proactively attack discomfort on your own terms. And when you do that, life's unexpected tragedies lose their power to destroy you. You become untouchable. You learned to stop running from the fire. You are finally walking directly into the discomfort. You are callousing your mind against the softness of modern society. But mental toughness alone is entirely useless if your brain is constantly being hijacked by the outside world. Your attention is currently under heavy siege. You mastered your fear of pain. Now, let's talk about the true currency of your life.
Chapter 5. Starve your distractions. Feed your focus. You mastered your fear of pain. You learned to walk willingly into the fire. You stopped running from discomfort. But mental toughness alone is entirely useless if your brain is constantly being hijacked by the outside world. Your attention is currently under heavy siege. Look at yourself right now. Look at your daily habits. You cannot sit in a silent room for 10 uninterrupted minutes. You reach for your phone in the elevator. You reach for your phone at the red light. You reach for your phone the exact second you open your eyes in the morning. You treat that piece of glass and plastic like it is oxygen. You are an addict. Your attention span has been hijacked by cheap dopamine. You have allowed algorithms to rewire your neural pathways, and because of this, deep, willful work has become absolutely impossible for you to sustain. To forge real willpower, you must aggressively gatekeep what enters your mind. You must ruthlessly reject cheap entertainment. Starve the noise. Every notification, every text message, every breaking news alert is an attack on your potential. They are tiny thieves stealing fractions of your life. You have a choice. You can be a consumer of garbage, or you can be a creator of value. You cannot be both. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at the chronic doom scroller. You know this person. This person might be you. They sit on the couch at night. Their eyes are glazed over. Their thumb moves in a robotic twitch. Swipe, swipe, swipe. 10 seconds of a dancing teenager. 15 seconds of a political argument. 7 seconds of an animal video. 2 hours vanish into a digital black hole. Their brain is flooded with unearned artificial dopamine. It is completely fried. Now, watch what happens when that same person tries to do something difficult. Watch them try to read a single chapter of a dense nonfiction book. Watch them try to sit down and write a business plan. Watch them try to study for a critical certification. It feels physically agonizing. Their skin crawls. Their brain screams for the fast dopamine hit. They read the same paragraph 4 times and comprehend absolutely nothing. They cannot hold a single solitary thought in their head for more than 60 seconds before the urge to check their screen overwhelms them. This is weakness in its purest form. It's not about your boredom, it's about your discipline. If you cannot control your own attention, you cannot control your life. You are a passenger in your own mind. It is time to take the wheel back. How do we fix a fried brain? How do we rebuild your shattered attention span? We implement a brutal dopamine detox strategy. We must reset your baseline focus. This is a transformation, and it requires radical action. Starting today, you stop consuming digital trash. You cut off the supply entirely. Delete the apps that steal your hours. Block the websites that drain your energy. For the next 30 days, you do not consume short-form content. Period. No exceptions, no rationalizations. Starve the noise.
When you feel the urge to pull your phone out in a waiting room, you will stop. You will leave the phone in your pocket. You will sit there. You will stare at the wall. You will feel the extreme discomfort of your own boredom, and you will learn to tolerate it. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the breeding ground of creativity and extreme focus. That's the key. You must learn to sit with yourself again. Focus is your currency. It is the single most valuable asset you possess, more valuable than your money, more valuable than your physical strength. And right now,
You are handing it over to billionaires in Silicon Valley for absolutely free. You are trading your future empire for a momentary distraction. Stop giving it away. Protect your focus with your life. Society expects you to be available 24/7. Society expects you to reply to a text message within 3 minutes. Society demands your constant participation in the digital circus. You don't need their permission to disconnect. Let them call you antisocial. Let them get angry that you are hard to reach. Let them complain that you missed their viral meme. Their entertainment is not your obligation. Your only obligation is to your own mission. Here is your behavioral instruction. This is what you must do immediately. You will establish non-negotiable blackout periods every single day. For a minimum of 2 hours every single day, your phone is dead. It is not on vibrate, it is not face down on the desk, it is completely powered off and placed in another room. You are entirely unreachable to the outside world. During this blackout period, you do the heavy lifting. You do the deep work. You study, you build, you strategize, you execute. You give your absolute undivided attention to the task that will actually move the needle in your life. Protect your focus with your life. In the beginning, this blackout period will feel like solitary confinement. You will feel phantom vibrations in your pocket. Your brain will try to convince you that there is an emergency and you must check your email. That is the addiction talking. Suffocate it. Ignore it. Keep working. Starve the noise. As the days go on, the noise will quiet down. The fog will lift. You will rediscover the immense, unstoppably powerful force of a human mind locked onto a single target. You will accomplish more in those 2 hours of absolute blackout than most people accomplish in a 40-hour work week. It's not about your connectivity, it's about your discipline. Every time you choose to lock in, you are forging your willpower. Every time you ignore a distraction, you are building an impenetrable fortress around your mind. You have a choice. You can let the world scatter your energy to the wind, or you can focus it into a laser beam that cuts through steel. Protect your focus with your life. You have reclaimed your attention from the screen. You have starved the noise and reset your baseline focus. You are guarding your mind against digital intrusion. But there is another thief out there. A thief that looks you directly in the eye and asks for your time. And right now, you are politely handing it over. You mastered your digital distractions. Now, let's talk about the people standing right in front of you.
Chapter 6. The Power of No and the Weakness of Yes. You reclaimed your attention from the screen. You starved the noise. You blocked out the digital world. You established your blackout periods.
But protecting your mind from a piece of glass is only half the battle. There is another thief out there. A thief that looks you directly in the eye, smiles, and asks for your time. And right now, you are politely handing your life over to them. You are doing it with a single, destructive, pathetic word. That word is yes. You think saying yes to everything makes you a valuable person. You think it makes you a team player. You think it proves how capable you are. You think it makes you a good friend, a good employee, a good partner. You are lying to yourself. Saying yes to everything is not a sign of capability. It is a glaring sign of weakness. It is rooted in deep, toxic people-pleasing. It is rooted entirely in fear. You are afraid of conflict. You are afraid of being disliked. You are afraid someone might think you are selfish. So you fold. You cave in. You surrender your most valuable asset, your time, to whoever asks for it. You prioritize their momentary convenience over your lifelong mission. True willpower requires the aggressive, militant defense of your time and energy. It requires the frequent, unapologetic use of the word no. No is a complete sentence. Say it out loud right now. Burn it into your vocabulary. No is a complete sentence. You have a choice. You can live your life executing everyone else's agenda, or you can execute your own. You absolutely cannot do both.
Every single time you say yes to something trivial, you are actively saying no to your ultimate goal. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at the burnt-out middle manager. You see this person in every corporate office in the world. Maybe you are this person. They're drowning in tasks. They're answering emails at midnight. Their blood pressure is through the roof. They're staying at the office until 8 o'clock at night while their family eats dinner without them. Why? Because when a lazy colleague drops a heavy project on their desk and says, "Can you handle this for me?" they smile. They nod. They say yes. They take on everyone else's work because they fear being disliked by their peers. They sacrifice their own sanity to keep the peace. They are a human doormat. They mistake being used for being useful. Now let's contrast this with a highly effective leader, the elite performer, the person who actually moves the needle. They operate on a completely different frequency. They ruthlessly prioritize. They confidently say no to 99% of the requests that come across their desk. They do not flinch. They do not apologize. They understand a fundamental truth of the universe. Your time belongs to your mission, not to their convenience. It's not about your likability. It's about your discipline. That's the key. Elite performers know that their energy is finite. They guard it like it is gold. Guard your time. Guard your life. If you do not value your time, absolutely no one else will. The world will take and take and take until you have nothing left to give. You will wake up 10 years from now, exhausted, bitter, and entirely off course, all because you didn't have the spine to form a 2-letter word.
This brings us to your behavioral instruction. This is your transformation. Starting today, you must practice the art of the unapologetic refusal. You are going to stop giving soft, cowardly excuses. When someone asks you to do something that does not align with your mission, you do not say, "Let me check my calendar." You do not say, "I'm just really busy right now, maybe next week." You do not invent a fake doctor's appointment. You do not soften the blow to protect their feelings. You look them directly in the eye, you hold your ground, you keep your voice steady, and you say, "No, I cannot do that." And then you close your mouth. No is a complete sentence. You do not owe them a 5-minute explanation. The more you explain, the weaker you look. The more you justify your refusal, the more room you give them to negotiate. You must cut the negotiation dead in its tracks. Silence is power. Say no and let the silence hang in the air. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them be offended. Let them be shocked. Let them go find another victim to dump their work on. Their poor planning does not constitute an emergency for you. You don't need their permission to protect your schedule. Guard your time. Guard your life. Every single day, people will test your boundaries. They will try to pull you into their drama. They will invite you to meaningless meetings. They will ask for favors that drain your energy. They will demand your attention. You either build an iron wall or you let them walk all over you. It's not about being selfish. It's about your discipline. When you learn to say no to the good, you leave room for the great. When you shut down the distractions, you multiply your focus. Every time you reject a useless request, you are pouring concrete on your own foundation. You are taking your power back. No is a complete sentence. Practice it today. Find a reason to say no. Someone will ask you for a piece of your time today. Decline the invitation. Reject the request. Feel the temporary discomfort of disappointing someone, and then feel the massive surge of power that comes immediately after. That power is your willpower expanding. Guard your time. Guard your life. You have stopped saying yes out of fear. You have mastered the unapologetic refusal. You are guarding your time like a vault. But protecting your time from strangers and colleagues is only the surface level. The real danger is much closer to home.
The real danger is the people you actively choose to let inside the vault. You mastered your calendar. Now let's talk about the silent poison in your environment.
Chapter 7. Audit your circle. The contagion of weakness. You mastered the unapologetic refusal. You guarded your time from strangers. You guarded your time from coworkers. You built a heavy iron wall around your calendar. But a fortress is entirely useless if the enemy is already sleeping inside the gates. You have removed the external distractions, but now we must confront the hardest truth of all. The biggest threat to your willpower is not your phone. It is not your boss. It is the people closest to you. Let's talk about the silent poison in your daily environment. Let's talk about your circle. You think you are an independent thinker. You think your willpower is self-contained. You think you can hang around losers and remain a winner. You are completely wrong. Human beings are biological sponges. We absorb the standards, the habits, and the limitations of the people we spend the most time with. Willpower is deeply influenced by proximity. If you surround yourself with lazy, unmotivated complainers, their weakness will inevitably infect your mind. It is not a matter of if, but when. Weakness is contagious. Cut the cord. I want you to take a hard, cold look at your inner circle right now. Look at the people you text every day. Look at the people you eat lunch with. Look at your oldest friends. Are they pushing you forward or are they holding you back? Do they talk about ideas, execution, and extreme ownership? Or do they talk about other people, office gossip, and how unfair the world is? If they are comfortable with mediocrity, they will demand that you be comfortable with it too. They will actively sabotage your growth because your discipline shines a massive, uncomfortable spotlight on their laziness. Weakness is contagious. Cut the cord. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at the classic example of trying to quit a destructive habit. Imagine someone trying to quit drinking. They dump the liquor down the drain on a Tuesday. They swear off alcohol. They feel highly motivated. But on Friday night, they go to the exact same bar, sit on the exact same sticky stool, and hang out with the exact same drinking buddies. What happens? They fail every single time. They fail because environmental triggers and subtle peer pressure easily bypass your rational defenses. They sit there with a glass of water, and their friends start working on them. Come on, just one beer. You're no fun anymore. Don't be so rigid. Their willpower is eroded not by a lack of internal desire, but by a relentless external assault. It's not about your loyalty, it's about your discipline. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You cannot forge iron willpower in a room full of soft people. When you try to level up, the people at the bottom will panic. They will try to pull you back into the bucket. They will mock your early morning alarms. They will laugh at your strict diet. They will call you obsessed. They will call you weird. Let them. You don't need their permission to outgrow them. You have a choice. You can lower your goals to match your friends, or you can elevate your standards and leave them behind. You cannot do both. That's the key. Proximity is destiny. Here is your behavioral instruction. This is the transformation you must execute immediately. You're going to perform a brutal relationship audit. Get a physical piece of paper. Draw a line directly down the middle. You're going to categorize every single regular relationship in your life into two distinct columns: drainers and chargers. Chargers are the rare few. These are the people who demand more from you. They hold you accountable. They celebrate your discipline instead of mocking it. When you leave a conversation with a charger, you feel energized, you feel focused, you feel a burning desire to execute. Drainers are the vast majority. These are the complainers, the victims, the energy vampires. These are the people who constantly need a shoulder to cry on but refuse to take a single step to fix their own pathetic lives. They siphon your energy. They normalize failure.
When you leave a conversation with a drainer, you feel exhausted, you feel heavy, you feel cynical. Systematically distance yourself from the drainers starting today. Stop returning the gossip texts. Stop going to the aimless happy hours. Stop offering your hard-earned willpower to prop up their chosen weakness. You are not their savior. Weakness is contagious. Cut the cord. You are going to feel immense guilt when you do this. Society tells you to be loyal to your childhood friends. Society tells you to stick around. But loyalty to a sinking ship just makes you a casualty. It's not about their feelings. It's about your discipline. People are terrified of being alone. They tolerate toxic, draining friendships because they fear isolation. You must flip this mindset entirely. You must learn to crave the silence. You will choose isolation over the company of those who normalize failure. Solitude is a weapon. It is in the stark silence of isolation that you forge your strongest self. When you cut the dead weight, your speed will double. When you stop listening to complainers, your internal voice becomes undeniable. It is better to walk entirely alone toward greatness than to march comfortably with the herd toward absolute nothingness. Protect your circle, protect your mind. Guard your airspace. Treat your inner circle like a highly restricted VIP area. If someone does not bring focus, drive, and absolute accountability to the table, they do not get a seat. Period. You are building an empire in your mind, and you cannot afford to have termites in the foundation. You have a choice. Drown with the complainers or swim to the shore alone. Protect your circle, protect your mind. You have audited your circle. You have cut the dead weight. You have chosen the terrifying, beautiful strength of solitude over the soft comfort of the crowd. The environment is finally clean. The external friction has been aggressively removed. But a clean environment means absolutely nothing if your internal systems are chaotic. You cleared the space. Now it is time to build the machine that will run your life.
Chapter 8. Forging the Iron Routine. You audited your circle. You cut the dead weight. You chose the terrifying, beautiful strength of solitude over the soft comfort of the crowd. The external environment is finally clean. The outside friction has been aggressively removed. But a clean environment means absolutely nothing if your internal systems are chaotic. You cleared the space. Now it is time to build the machine that will run your life. You think willpower is a magical trait that you either have or you don't. You think you just need to try harder. You are completely wrong. Willpower is a battery. When you wake up after a full night of sleep, that battery is charged at 100%. But every single time you make a decision, no matter how small, you drain a fraction of that battery. We call this decision fatigue, and decision fatigue destroys willpower. Think about your average morning. You wake up, you lie in bed and debate whether or not to hit snooze. That is a decision. You walk to the closet and stare at your clothes for 5 minutes. What should I wear today? That is a decision. You open the refrigerator. What should I eat for breakfast? Should I make eggs? Should I just grab a bagel? That is another decision. By the time you actually leave your house, you have made 30 trivial, meaningless choices. You have drained 20% of your daily willpower on absolute garbage. The more choices you make throughout the day, the weaker your resolve becomes by the evening. This is exactly why you eat perfectly clean all day, but binge on junk food at 9 p.m. Your battery is dead. Your willpower is gone. You cannot fight the impulse because you spent all your energy deciding what color shirt to wear. You have a choice. You can continue to bleed your energy on the meaningless, or you can weaponize your daily habits. To forge unbreakable self-control, you must lock your days into an ironclad routine. You must aggressively eliminate unnecessary choices. You must conserve your willpower for the heavy lifting. Automate the trivial, dominate the vital. Say it out loud. Burn it into your operating system. Automate the trivial, dominate the vital. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at elite, world-class high performers. Look at the tech billionaires. Look at the champion athletes. Look at the top military commanders. What do they all have in common?
They wear the exact same clothes every single day. They eat the exact same breakfast every single day. They wake up at the exact same minute. Average people look at this and laugh. Average people call it boring. Society tells you that you need variety. Society tells you that you need spontaneity to live a good life. But society is broke, exhausted, and desperately out of shape. You don't need their permission to be rigid. Let them call you boring. Let them mock your predictability. This isn't boring. It is a highly tactical strategy to preserve mental bandwidth for actual problem solving. It's not about your preference for variety. It's about your discipline. When an elite performer walks into their closet, there is no decision to make. 5 black shirts, 5 pairs of jeans. They grab one, they put it on. 0 willpower spent. When they walk into the kitchen, the oats are already prepared. They eat. 0 willpower spent. They have hoarded all of their mental energy for the decisions that actually dictate success and failure in the arena.
That's the key. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Here is your behavioral instruction. This is the transformation you will execute today. You will construct a ruthless morning and evening protocol, and you will execute this protocol regardless of how tired, angry, or uninspired you feel. We start with the evening. Your morning is actually one the night before. Before your head hits the pillow, you will eliminate tomorrow's choices. You will lay out your gym clothes at the foot of the bed. You will prepare your breakfast. You will write down the single most important task you must accomplish the next day. You leave absolutely nothing to chance. You leave 0 room for morning negotiation. Then you build the morning protocol. The alarm rings. You do not think. You execute the snap action response. You put the clothes on. You drink the water. You step out the door. You do the hard work. You do this every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. It does not matter. Motivation is a myth, remember? You do not rely on a feeling. The routine is the master. When you feel entirely depleted, the routine takes over. When you suffer a massive failure and want to hide under the covers, the routine drags you out of bed. When your heart is broken, when your bank account is empty, when the world is crashing down around you, the routine is the only thing that will keep you moving forward. The routine is the master. It becomes your default operating system when motivation dies. It strips away the emotional weight of taking action. You no longer have to convince yourself to go to the gym. You simply go because it is 5 a.m., and at 5 a.m. you go to the gym. It is no longer a choice. It is a biological law of your existence. Automate the trivial, dominate the vital. You have a choice right now. You can live a life of chaotic, exhausting spontaneity, constantly draining your battery on things that do not matter. Or you can build the iron routine. You can build the track, put the train on it, and become an unstoppable force of momentum. It's not about your freedom. It's about your discipline. True freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. That is the definition of a wild animal. True freedom is found strictly on the other side of radical discipline. When you control your actions through routine, you buy back your mental freedom to conquer the world. The routine is the master. You have built the machine. You have locked your days into an ironclad protocol. You have conserved your willpower. You are executing flawlessly. But let me be perfectly clear. You are human. The machine will eventually hit a wall. You will make a mistake. You will slip. Perfection is a lie. But a single failure is not the end unless you allow it to become one. You mastered your daily schedule. Now, let's talk about what happens when the schedule breaks.
Chapter 9: The Anatomy of a Relapse and How to Crush It. Welcome to absolute reality. You built the machine. You locked your days into the iron routine. You conserved your willpower. You are executing at a level you have never reached before. You feel unstoppable. You feel perfect. But you are not perfect. You are human.
And because you are human, you will inevitably fail at some point during this 30-day process. I guarantee it. Sometime soon, the machine will hit a wall. You will sleep through the 4 a.m. alarm. You will snap at your spouse. You will skip the workout. You will break your digital blackout and waste an hour scrolling. You will cave in and eat the garbage. When this happens, you are going to feel a massive wave of shame. You are going to feel like a fraud. You will look in the mirror and hear a voice say, "See, I told you so. You can't do this. You are exactly who you used to be." That voice is a liar. That voice is the enemy trying to drag you back to the bottom. Willpower isn't about maintaining flawless, unbroken perfection. Perfection is a fragile illusion designed by cowards who never actually enter the arena. True willpower is about the ferocious speed of your recovery. Bounce back instantly. A single failure is absolutely nothing but a data point. It is a minor speed bump. It is not the end of the road unless you actively choose to let it spiral into a total collapse. You have a choice. You can let one mistake define your character, or you can let your recovery define your character. Bounce back instantly. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's dissect the classic example. Let's look at the dieter who has been eating perfectly clean for 14 days. They are disciplined. They are focused. But then they go to an office party. They are exhausted. Their decision fatigue is high. They cave. They eat one slice of chocolate cake. What happens next is the most critical moment in the entire psychology of willpower. Instead of acknowledging the mistake and moving on, their brain hits the panic button. The destructive rationalization begins. They say to themselves, "Well, I already ruined my diet for today. What the hell? I might as well eat the rest of the cake. I'll just start over again on Monday." They proceed to eat 3 more slices. They go home and order a pizza. They abandon the gym for the entire weekend. A 200-calorie mistake spirals into a 5,000-calorie disaster. Psychologists call this the "what the hell" effect. I call it an absolute surrender to weakness. You see, the single slice of cake did not ruin their progress. The toxic, self-destructive thought pattern that followed is what ruined their progress. They used a minor slip as a pathetic excuse to completely abandon their standards. It's not about your minor slip, it's about your discipline. That's the key. The elite performer does not spiral. The elite performer compartmentalizes the failure. They eat the slice of cake, they recognize the error, and the very next meal is perfectly executed chicken and broccoli. They do not wait for Monday. They do not wait for a new month. They correct the course in the very next breath. Bounce back instantly.
Society tells you that if you break your streak, you are a hypocrite. Society tells you that a relapse means the whole system is broken. Society wants you to feel crushing guilt so that you quit and join them back in the comfort zone. You don't need their permission to forgive yourself, and you certainly don't need their permission to keep moving forward. Let them wallow in their guilt. You have a war to win. So what is the transformation? How do we crush this toxic spiral before it destroys your life? You will implement a brutal, non-negotiable law into your daily operating system. It is called the never twice rule. The rule is simple. You are allowed to make a mistake. You are allowed to slip, but you are never, under any circumstances, allowed to make the same mistake twice in a row. Slip once, never twice. Missing one workout is an anomaly. It happens. You got sick, your car broke down, a crisis occurred. But missing 2 workouts in a row, that is no longer an anomaly. That is the beginning of a new habit. That is you actively building a habit of laziness. Slip once, never twice. If you miss your 5 a.m. alarm today, do not beat yourself up. Guilt is a useless emotion that drains your willpower battery. But tomorrow morning, your feet must hit the floor the exact millisecond that alarm sounds. The immediate next action must be a flawless victory. If you lose your temper and scream in a meeting, you do not let it ruin your entire week.
You apologize, you reset, and the very next interaction you have must be executed with absolute ice-cold emotional control. If you eat junk food at lunch, your dinner must be the cleanest meal of your life. Slip once, never twice. You have a choice every time you fall. You can stay on the ground and complain about the dirt, or you can get up so fast that the universe doesn't even register you hit the floor. It's not about your failure, it's about your discipline. The never twice rule instantly kills the what the hell effect. It removes the pressure of absolute perfection while demanding extreme accountability. It forces you to draw a line in the sand the exact moment you mess up. The bleeding stops here. The spiral ends now. You must recognize that the dark voice in your head wants you to fail twice. It wants you to feel hopeless. When you slip, that voice will whisper, "You ruined it. Just give up for today." You must suffocate that thought immediately. You must crush the relapse before it takes root. That's the key. Momentum is not about never stopping. Momentum is about how quickly you can restart the engine after it stalls. You do not lose your forged willpower when you make a mistake. You only lose it when you refuse to correct the mistake immediately. Bounce back instantly. Slip once, never twice. You have learned to master the relapse. You have killed the toxic spiral of perfectionism. You know how to bounce back with ferocious speed. You have the tools. You have the rules. You have the iron routine. The 30-day process is nearly complete. But right now, you are still just a person who is trying to be disciplined. You are still wearing your old skin. It is time to burn it off permanently. You mastered your failures. Now, let's talk about the final evolution of your character.
Chapter 10. The 30-Day Crucible. Total Identity Shift. You mastered your failures. You crushed the relapse. You learned to bounce back instantly. You have the tools. You have the iron routine. You have the strategy. But right now, you are still operating at a massive disadvantage. You are still fighting a war on two fronts. You are fighting the external world, and you are fighting your own self-image. Look at yourself in the mirror. Who do you see? Right now, you still see the old you. You see the procrastinator. You see the quitter. You see the person who is simply trying very hard to be disciplined. You are wearing your old skin. You are putting on a costume every morning. It is time to burn that costume to the ground. Willpower is exhausting when it is an act. If you have to wake up every single morning and convince yourself to be strong, you will eventually lose the argument. Willpower stops being an exhausting daily struggle the precise moment it becomes your permanent identity. You are no longer someone who is trying to wake up early. You simply are an early riser. You are no longer someone who is trying to work hard. You simply are a relentless executor. You are no longer someone who is trying to be healthy. You simply are an athlete. This is who I am now. Say it out loud. Burn it into your subconscious mind. This is who I am now. Let's look at absolute reality. Let's look at the psychology of addiction. Let's look at two former smokers. Both of them are trying to quit. Both of them are at a party. Someone walks up and offers them a cigarette. The first person looks at the cigarette, sighs, and says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The second person looks at the cigarette, looks the person dead in the eye, and says, "No thanks, I don't smoke." Do you hear the difference? It is massive. It is the difference between failure and ultimate victory. The first person still identifies as a smoker. Their core identity is a smoker who is temporarily withholding a cigarette. They believe they are depriving themselves of something they actually want. They are relying on sheer brute force willpower to resist the urge. Eventually, that willpower will run out. They will fail. The second person has completely destroyed their old self.
They have experienced a total identity shift. They do not say, "I can't." They say, "I don't." This subtle linguistic shift signifies a complete neurological rewiring. They are not resisting anything. A true non-smoker does not need willpower to refuse a cigarette. It is simply a biological fact of their existence. It requires zero mental energy. This is who I am now. It's not about your struggle, it's about your discipline.
When your identity shifts, the struggle disappears. The resistance vanishes. You no longer debate whether or not to go to the gym, because going to the gym is just what a disciplined person does. It is your nature. It is your DNA. You have a choice. You can keep pretending to be a hard worker, or you can actually become one. You can remain a tourist in the land of discipline, or you can become a permanent resident. That's the key. You do not fake it until you make it. You execute it until you become it. Your old identity is dead. It died the moment you started this audiobook. Society will not understand this. Your old friends will not understand this. They will expect you to be the exact same weak, lazy, predictable person you were 5 years ago. They will try to put you back into the comfortable little box they built for you. You don't need their permission to change overnight. Let them be confused. Let them be shocked by your transformation. Let them call you obsessed. You do not answer to their expectations. You only answer to your own elevated standards. Forge the new you. This brings us to your final behavioral instruction. This is the ultimate transformation. This is how we bridge the massive gap between temporary effort and permanent character change. We are laying out the final 30-day contract. For the next 30 days, you are entering the crucible. A crucible is a heavy iron vessel. It is used to melt down raw, flawed materials at extreme, blistering temperatures. It burns away the impurities to create something unbreakable. That is exactly what you are doing to your mind. Here is what you must do immediately. You are going to take a physical piece of paper and a pen. Do not type this on your phone. Write it in ink. You are going to write down exactly who you are, not who you want to be, who you are. Write it entirely in the present tense. I am disciplined. I am relentless. I do not make excuses. I execute on command. I am a force of nature. I do not negotiate with weakness. You will sign your name at the bottom of this document. You will date it. You will tape it to your bathroom mirror. You will tape it to the dashboard of your car. You will tape it to your computer monitor. Every single time you see it, you will repeat it. You will speak it into existence. This is who I am now. When the alarm goes off and you want to sleep, you will look at that contract. You will remember your identity. You will realize that sleeping in is something the old you would do, and the old you is dead. Forge the new you. You will execute the iron routine. You will master the 5-second micro-war. You will starve your distractions. You will aggressively audit your circle. You will smile at the pain. You will never make the same mistake twice. And you will do all of this not because you are trying hard. You will do it because you simply have no other way of living. It's not about your past. It's about your discipline. You have a choice every single morning you open your eyes. Revert to the comfortable weakness of your past or step boldly into the fire of your absolute potential. You will leave this audiobook as a completely different weapon than when you started. A weapon forged in action. A weapon forged in iron. Forge the new you. You have completely rewritten your identity. You have signed the contract. You are no longer trying. You simply are. The 30-day crucible has transformed your mind into an unstoppable force. But the lessons are over. The talking is done. You mastered your identity. Now, let's talk about what happens the exact second this audio ends.
The forging is done, but the real test starts the exact second my voice stops. We have stripped away your pathetic excuses. We have murdered your reliance on motivation. We have exposed the weakness of your comfort zone and armed you with the iron routine.
You now know the truth. Every time you hesitate, every time you negotiate with that weak voice in your head, you are choosing to lose. It ends today. The next 30 days are your crucible. No more tomorrow. No more I'll try. You are going to wake up early. You are going to seek the pain. You are going to starve your distractions and do the damn work when you don't feel like it. I challenge you right now. Take out a physical piece of paper, write, "I am unstoppable," and sign your name to it. Commit to the 30 days, no steps backward. Now get off your ass, turn this audio off, and go execute.